Welcome to my next video about Geometry Dash 2.2. I, by the way, highly thank you about my last video, which has now 5,022 views after just 2 days. This is insane actually, and the most views I got within 2 days, and also the most likes I ever got in a video. Thanks for everyone who have watched and liked it. In this video I would go for explaining you how to use the collision blocks in Geometry Dash 2.2 and also the new collision blocks in 2.2. First we are looking at these 5 elements I have added here in the editor. This one and this is not for the collision triggers, by the way. I can explain you later what they are for, but first we are just going into these 3 objects which are for real for the collision triggers. The collision has not much changed, it just has both options here. I will explain you in the new trigger, but yeah, everything here stays the same. A nice addition is that RobTop has added here the help, which was just earlier, as I have personally remembered, like small with collision, or also can be used as spawn trigger, which was not big of a help and seemed useless in the update 2.1. We are more focusing on the instant collision trigger, which is the new one. The difference between instant collision and collision is like that. As in the count triggers, we are having before like count and instant count. Collision can be multi-activated and checks if like you do after 5 seconds spawning bed, or after 10 seconds you can use it as much as you want. Instant collision is just checking if your player collides or if a collision block collides. Collision block at this very moment and not later and not earlier. Just at this moment and just can only be used once. For the setup you have here block A and block B. In block A you add the dynamic block, in block B you add the other block should be hit, like the block for enemy or something else, talking about minigames. True or false ID is new to the instant collision trigger. True ID is like if the collision block A hits collision block B, then the true ID will be triggered. If collision block A does not hit collision block B, then the false ID gets triggered. Another addition RobTop has added, I personally find cool, also for mini games to make it even less complicated, is that he has added here the player 1, player 2 and player. This means that if player 1 touches a collision block you have set here with a block ID, then the true ID gets added. Same goes for the normal collision trigger also. Just add a normal collision trigger, it's here above. If player 2 hits the collision block here, then the true ID also gets triggered. If you pick both, it's like if player 1 and player 2 hit the collision block B. The PP can only be used single. It doesn't really make sense if you use it in combination, but here that if player 1 touches player 2, then 2 gets triggered. If player 1 does not touch player 2, then false ID gets triggered. Also, if you get specific with a player 1 and player 2 and think like, okay, does it just work if I have 2 player mode enabled? No, you can enable it or you cannot enable it. Like, I mean, this one here, if it's enabled or not enabled, it doesn't matter. It's in general meant in the dual mode, like in this mode here. But all of that I can show you again in examples. So now I have prepared it a bit, but I move this here up and make this one bigger a bit. So now I have set up here at this collision or instant collision trigger that if block A touches block B or player 1 or player 2 or whatever, then if it's true, then group 1 gets activated, and if false, then group 2 is activated. As group 1, I have set a pulse trigger which makes this block getting the color green, and as false, it makes this block here red. So you can see if it's true or false. We can test out instantly some of the new functions. If player 1 touching block 1, this one, then it gets green. If it's not, or the second player is touching it, then it gets red. Here it is now only player 2. So yeah, if player 2 touches it, regardless if player 1 touching it, then it gets also green. And if player 1 is touching it but not player 2, it gets red. Now we make if any player is touching it, player 1 or player 2. Okay. And now when both players touch each other. We can also move this collision here away if it's confusing for you. So that's it actually about the instant collision and the new functions of the collision triggers. Now you are probably asking why these both blocks are also here in this section. That one I can explain you, of course. Like that are just hitboxes that are not collision blocks. This is the first thing I want to mention here. Not that you think this one is for this, no. This is the collision state here. Like this one activates if you enter this block, and state off is activating if you leave this block. In both you add a group ID. It doesn't really work with collision block IDs, it just works with group IDs. This one was like the toggle block. This is actually trigger op we have here. This one, but it is more like a trigger. The claim touch makes the player not jumping, not flying, not anything. It just activates when the trigger and should not jump or anything. This is what the claim touch is doing. The toggle block is for like if you click inside the block, then the group ID here gets toggled. Or you can activate a group. You can use it for spawning things also, but for this one Warptop extra added spawn only. This makes that if you click in that box, it spawns that group, but it doesn't toggles anything and also not untoggles anything. And you can also multi-activate it. You click multiple times at this block and then it will multiple times also spawning, for example. But here Warptop also has added, as we can see, the spawn only and the claim touch. This is here invisible in game and the other one is visible. That was the tutorial. If you like it also, I would be happy if you leave a like and might subscribe again. I wish you a nice day. Goodbye.